Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the War Commander Rogue Assault official audio podcast. I am your host, Community Manager Swag. You guys have probably seen me in the game. I have the yellow text. I have with me today a couple of guys. This is the first time where we actually are doubling up. I've got two guys here to talk about some really cool upcoming features in the game. First, I'd like to introduce Sean. And what do you do on the game, Sean?
Hey guys, pleasure to be here. So I'm actually an analyst on the team. We get a lot of game data regarding platoons players use and what kind of strikes they use in combat, etc. I analyze that and also help design features for the game. I've currently been working on the new event that's going to be released soon.
Now, analyze. That sounds like a big word and as a tad vague. What can you give us a couple more specifics about what that means? What you analyze game data?
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of a unknown kind of job in the industry that there's actually game analysts looking at basically player telemetry, things like okay, you played this battle and you won, or you play this battle, used X many strikes and lost. So we look at that data in an aggregate for many of our players and use it to see if there are any problems in our game. Like for example, if there's a problem in the early funnel of the game where you don't get to the tutorial or something like that.
Now, when you explain that to your parents, do they have any idea what you're talking about?
Oh God, no. They pretty much think I play games all day, which is, to be honest, not too far from the truth. But yeah, there's a little bit more that gets into that. But yeah, there's a very kind of it's an interesting thing that when I tell people I work on games.
All right. And next up, we have Dylan. Thanks again for being here. And what do you do on the Rogue Assault team?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for having me as well. I am the game systems designer, so I'm actually coming from the original War Commander, but I came over to Rogue Assault to help with some features like strikes and some soon-to-be-announced world map fun. And these days, I'm really focusing on unit balance. What are our players using? What are the DOM strats? What's the current balance? Looking into unit usage for our meta, and of course, most importantly, planning future content. And it's been just super satisfying to work with a little bit more of that tactile design space for our new units. And, again, there's a bunch of new exciting directions with it, especially we're going to jump into it, but with our events and our new units coming out, it's just been a pleasure.
So you're talking about balance changes. So we actually just made some changes to one of our units, the Striker. And I think you had a hand in that, correct?
Yeah. We really wanted to make sure the Striker fit, that was a satisfying thing. Like, it used to be that the Striker was kind of the last unlocked unit in the game. Mm-hmm. We kind of felt, and we really listened to our players, that the Striker wasn't necessarily the most powerful unit, kind of towards the end of that line there. So we wanted to move that around. We wanted to bring that up for players to appreciate and enjoy the Striker. And so, of course, we made some adjustments. We brought it down a little bit because, it's starting earlier in the game. So some of its earlier levels are maybe, they hit a little bit less hard. But if you invested into the Striker, if you love the Striker and you've upgraded it, and you've spent your precious resources on that, of course, it's actually going to hit a little bit harder. So we think we've come to a good, best case scenario for everybody. Earlier players get to enjoy it, and later players it actually punches a little bit more of a punches a little bit harder. So that's great. And of course, we're looking forward to, on our forums and talking to people on all different channels and hearing what the player community thinks of it as well.
I'm going to keep on you actually for another second. Can you give an example of a time where maybe you've seen somebody that said something like in the game or maybe on Reddit or, on Facebook where you're like, that's actually kind of interesting. Maybe I'll look a little bit more into that.
Oh, that happens literally every day.
Yeah.
We are constantly listening to our players. There's just dozens of individual examples like that. I mean, a lot of our S13 feedback, the Striker, the one I just mentioned, even times in the past, this is all coming from you guys, the players. This is all reacting, looking, like Sean said, looking at the data saying, whoa, is this, is it doing enough damage? Oh, let's buff it up a little bit. Or, our players are worried about this or that. It happens all the time, every day.
Nice. So yes, even though we probably get accused on a daily basis of you're not listening, we're listening. All of us here, all of us in this room.
It is hard to write back to every comment, of course.
Yeah.
But honestly, I've worked at a few studios and we are definitely paying attention, honestly, to our players more than a lot of studios I've worked with in the past, which is great.
Excellent. So the reason why I've got both of you guys in here is that we have a new event coming up and also some new prizes. And I know that Sean, you've been working on the actual event itself, and Dylan, you've been working like on the prizes. So let's go chronologically here. Sean, tell us about this event that the team is creating. What kind of challenge should players expect to encounter?
Right. So this event is a very different format than what we've seen before with things like La Muerte. This is going to be an event where you're presented with a set of missions, and you need to complete these missions to achieve prize packs, essentially. So by replaying these missions, you'll be able to get to a threshold where you'll obtain prize packs from the event. So it's more deterministic, whereas La Muerte was more random drop. But with replaying and understanding how to best approach them and what directions to take, you'll be able to eventually master them.
Are there any requirements for the event, or can all players?
So the only requirement for participation in the event is being player level 5, and then once you play level 5, you'll be able to participate.
Which you can pretty much get to like in the first day if you really put your nose to the grindstone.
So. Oh yeah. So this is it's a very we're trying to open the event to as many people as possible while also making it a big challenge for our later players as well. So we've kind of hit on both points with this one.
So like with the La Muerte strongholds that you mentioned before, I'm assuming we're going to see a few different versions of the bases. Like how many different tiers can they expect to see? Yeah,
so for this particular event, we have 6 different tiers. And really what we're trying to do with this is tailor the event to our players as best as possible, because we have a wide variety of players all the way from people just entering the game to people late in the game on the world map. So each player will be grouped. Will see the missions according to their player level, and yeah, there'll be different tiers that players will be grouped in.
As far as difficulty, I know probably the first thing I would ask as a player is this going to be harder than the La Muerte strongholds? I mean, it's kind of a subjective word, I know, but like I guess the question would be more like, what are the differences? Right. Can they be expected to be like kind of on that level of challenge?
So the great thing about this event is that we have multiple different missions that you can attack. So the later mission is going to be very challenging, and depending on how your platoon is structured and what kind of platoons you have, it might be more difficult or less difficult than the La Muerte base, because it requires a very different strategy and platoon composition than La Muerte to be successful. However, if you want to start with a lower difficulty, there's a mission for that as well. So there's a kind of increasing difficulty throughout the missions that you'll see. So it won't be a case that, oh, this is impossible, I can't participate. You could just participate at the lower one and inch your way up to the higher one.
I mean, really, what it is, we do want people to be able to complete them and progress, right? It's not like we put this out here with the intention of like you won't be able to beat this. It wouldn't be very fun, right?
Right. Yeah. That is definitely the point.
You talked about platoon composition. What are some of the units that you would personally recommend that players should be building up and bringing, getting ready to come to this fight?
Right. So these a lot of the missions in this event are infantry heavy. So things like the sniper, if you have it, will help you a lot in mowing down those infantry units. But things like if you're a later level, M270s are great for these kinds of for some of the missions in this one because of the long range and their splash damage. But really, one of the things that's indispensable in these ones is your use of air support. So whether you're using Reapers or Raptors, you're going to have to effectively use air support to take out chunks of the map and get through them.
So we've done a few of these strike battles, and we got more coming up as well. So if people have strike saved up, what would be some of the ones that you would recommend? Like once you hit it a few times and you have a good idea of what you should be doing, do you have any recommendations for strikes to be used?
Yeah, definitely. What I found, and this is going to differ based on what strikes people like to use and how they use them, but I found the M270 strike, if you're at that level, I believe it's 21, that you could use it, is very effective for a lot of these maps.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was a great one, and also one of my favorite units. And of course, any of those, gold strikes don't hurt either. Tomahawk in particular is always going to do well. But really, any of those artillery, GBU 18, those will really help you take strategic, positions on the map that will give you a lot of trouble without them. So definitely those will help.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sean. That's very eye-opening. Now, of course, what would be an event without prizes? And this is You know, like, what's my motivation? What's my motivation? Dylan, you are in the hot seat, sir. So, what is some of the compensation that players can expect to see for successfully destroying these awesome bases that Sean and the team is putting together?
Yeah, I feel the heat coming from the chair for sure. But luckily, I'm happy to say that we've got 3 super exciting prizes for Revelation. I mean, and basically to run through this like real quick, don't let me talk too long, but I want to get these players, I want to get them knowing all the information they possibly can. The PK, the Humvee, and the Striker are each getting a transport variant. Okay, so variants are a new version of the unit. They still have the same chassis, their goals are the same, tanks are your meat shield, infantry the DPS behind them. But for this event, we've got light vehicles, and they're just so good at kiting, they're great at dodging. But on top of that, these variants, these new units that the players are going to be able to unlock during this event, will actually be dropping infantry. So what that means is if you manage, maybe one of your vehicles go down, what's going to happen is the infantry will actually pop out of this unit and help you finish the fight, which is just this awesome little mechanic. You kind of have this little escort mini mission, and these little infantry that pop out are not so little. They come out and they're packing a punch. Variants are not necessarily just overall better. In Rogue Assault, you've got to pick the right tool for the right job, like Sean was talking about, to be the best. And these variants, they play a little bit more up close and personal. They're larger, they've got considerably more health, but better yet, and this is something I really want to highlight, is that if you've upgraded the PK, if you've upgraded the Humvee or the Striker, your variants will automatically match that level. So variant units, they match the level of their normal unit. So if you've already upgraded or you sunk some resources into getting your Humvee up halfway to level 5, your new unit that you're going to unlock in this event will automatically be level 5, which is just great. So that also works for the units. So if you have the PK has riflemen that pop out of it, the Humvee has machine gunners, and the Striker actually has force recons that are just brutal. But if you, let's say, you love force recons, I know I've seen Sean with force recons. It's pretty brutal.
All day force recon.
But when he gets his award for this event, his force recons are already going to be like, what do you have him at 9 or something? It's the same thing for all the players, right? Like all of your units will automatically be that same level, which is super exciting. And they're going to come out here and they're just going to pack a punch. And what that does is that allows us to lean into, embrace your play style, how you want to play with your units. So if you've spent, some of that metal, leveling up, the important thing here is that these variants now are going to further embrace that. You're going to get a better value for that, and their new gameplay, and they really embrace all of your play styles and your upgrades of the past.
Wow, I thought it was gonna fall on me to try it and sell. You just did it on your own.
Swag, I'm excited. Like I've been using these things right now, and they're like I tell you, from a gameplay perspective, from a power perspective, they've been really satisfying. And of course, as always, we're looking forward. We're gonna be making more of these things. We look forward to hearing what the players think.
Okay, so how visually are players going to be able to discern the variants from the original units?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, they've got a lot more health, right? They're tankier, they're a little bit up close and personal, so they're larger as well, right? They really kind of embrace that fact. They got a little health, they're larger. You're going to see them on the battlefield. But in addition to that, they're like pitch black, like think SWAT van black. So when that Humvee rolls up, it's got that new, variant, it's got that new black skin aspect to it, and then, you've got that SWAT feel to it. Your infantry are popping out. They feel great. They're looking awesome. The art team has done an incredible job.
I'm reminded of in the RoboCop remake when Michael Keaton says, "Let's make him tactical. Let's make him black."
Right?
Make it black.
That's what we've done. It is tactile for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. So, is this the kind of thing where you could insert this into the platoons you're using now, or is this like a straight up I want to make 10 of these and I'm just going to mono and rush? How would this possibly fit into how people are playing the game now?
Yeah, I mean, we try and make the tools and then the players can use those and put those puzzle pieces together, right? So if a player, try monoing them. I think they're just as fun. You can do that. I don't necessarily think, like a lot of, RTSs, and particularly in Rogue Assault, that may not be, it's probably not the best situation is probably not the best way to run that, but if you want to, if you're loving it, go and explore some new tactics for it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these, because they have that additional new health, what we're also hoping, we'll hear from the players as well, is you might actually be surprised. You might be able to run these as kind of fulfilling that tank role, not the actual Rhino tank or the Merkava tank, but in something that's absorbing damage. You can actually put these new variants like the Humvee in front of that. So, what I've been doing is, I know everybody loves the S-13, but you run your S-13s behind and these new variant transport Humvees in front, and it's like a really fast tanking role, right? So you're not waiting, your S-13s aren't waiting behind your tank. We want players to be able to get in there, boom, 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 get in there faster. And what this allows to do is they're almost kind of like new tank roles, but they still have all that speed of the light vehicle.
Well, I am excited, guys. I got to tell you. So what's the date? When can players expect to play, and how long does it run for?
So the event will be launching on May 18th, and it'll be running for 72 hours. So the idea is, and that's part of the design as well, is and part of the strategy of the event and the targets is you really have to plan the overall, not just the tactics in battle, but the strategy around how you're going to tackle the event. Do you want to go with attacking the lower bases for a while, or do you want to go straight into the big ones and see whether you get the best prize backs, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Or you just wait for the guy in your alliance that always wants to be first, and you say, hey, make some videos of you hitting the base so we can...
That's right.
Yeah.
Information is power.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to the event, May 18th. And Sean, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dylan, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Players, keep the feedback coming. Thanks for playing.
And I'm sure we'll get you guys back in here, and we can go over some of the feedback from this event and maybe talk about the next one.
That'd be great.
We got a lot of exciting stuff coming in the pipeline. I can't wait to hear what those players are thinking.
Fantabulous. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.